6 games played, 20 goals scored, match day 14 of the 2026 FIFA World Cup served us a classic. I'm here to talk all about it. Welcome to the desk. My name is Tunde Young, and we saw groups A, B, and C come to a conclusion last night in match day 14 of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. In Group A, we saw action between South Africa and South Korea, which South Africa won by a goal to nil to advance to the World Cup knockout rounds for the first time in their country's history. We also saw Mexico, who had already qualified as top of that group, be the first team to win all 3 group stage games by beating Czech Republic by 3 goals to nil. In Group B, we saw Switzerland beat host Canada, which means Canada, even though they are qualified, will now have to play their next game, the round of 32 game in the United States. That's a big talking point. We'll talk about it shortly. And then we saw Bosnia and Herzegovina beat Qatar by 3 goals to 1 to also secure their place in the next round. And finally, in Group C, we saw Morocco come back from behind twice to beat Haiti 4 goals to 2. And Brazil were too much for Scotland, 3 goals to nil, to also secure their place in the next round, while Scotland have to wait tentatively. So, where to start? Let me check out what my rundown says. And the first thing on my rundown is, how did the Czech Republic qualify for this World Cup? It reached to us. It really reached to us. Because Czech Republic have been nothing but horrendous in their 3 games at this World Cup so far. They lost the opening game 2-1 to South Korea, even though they took the lead. South Korea came back from behind to beat them. Up next, they drew against South Africa 1-1. They took the lead. South Africa came back from behind to equalize them. And then in a game that was a must-win game for them, they managed to somehow struggle against Mexico to the point where they lost by 3 goals to nil. And it's a question that people always ask about, Asian teams, in particular Arab teams, even some African teams. How did they qualify for this World Cup? When Tunisia got embarrassed in their opening 2 games against much better teams in Sweden and the Netherlands, Sweden and Japan, how did Tunisia qualify for this World Cup? Is what we heard everybody say. Hardly anybody ever asked this about European teams, which is why I want to ask it now. Czech Republic, consistently bad. No particular standout players. Patrick Schick is supposed to be their great big hope, but even on his day, he's painfully average. And at this World Cup, he didn't do any better. It's, again, how did they qualify? I'm going through at the moment, UEFA's qualification rounds, the group stages for the qualifiers for the World Cup. And I'm trying to see what group Czech Republic were. Czech Republic were in Group L. Group L, along with Croatia, Faroe Islands, Montenegro, and Gibraltar. Of course, they were condemned to qualify, especially when you have 2 teams qualifying. Croatia topped the group, of course, without losing a single game, because we would lose to this bunch. And Czech Republic were second, losing only 2 games, and both you would assume to Croatia. At some point, we have to have a serious conversation about whether or not Europe should have less loss, but we'll talk about it shortly as the show progresses. But right now, check it out of the 2026 World Cup, only scoring 2 goals in 3 games, only picking up a singular point. It's looking like there will be no third place team from Group A, and rightly so, because it is not a particularly inspiring group. In fact, South Africa qualified as second place team despite only having 4 points. Usually 4 points is for third place teams. South Africa are second with 4 points. South Korea third with 3 points. South Korea may yet still qualify. We don't know yet. They have to wait and see, because only eight of the 12 third place teams will advance. So we'll find out who has more points than who. South Korea too should not have found themselves in this situation. South Korea kicked off the campaign with 3 points against Czech Republic, came back from behind. You'd expect that with that momentum, they would, at the very least pick up a point against Mexico and South Africa. They ended up losing both games, narrow 1-0 defeat, but their advantageous goal difference, just -1, will put them in a great position. So a team like Bosnia is already ahead of them in terms of the rankings. Bosnia are third place and they have 4 points, but they are also doing better than someone like Scotland, who have 3 points, but have a -3 goal difference. So Scotland have to continue to sweat on their current position to see if that will, if that will change, if they can advance or not. They have to wait, just hang around United States up until everything is settled, I suppose. South Africa deserves credit for bouncing back. Yes, they do. They do. I've been very, very critical of South Africans. I call them the worst team I watched after one round of games. I wasn't wrong. Even after second round of games, I still was convinced that they were not a good team. Third round of games, I'll give them credit. I never in a million years thought that Bafana could beat South Korea. I never did. I thought at worst it was a draw. Because they don't have offensive quality. Yeah, and granted, they scored a great goal. They scored a great goal to beat the South Koreans last night. So nobody can take that away from them. They've earned their spot in the round of 32. Tapelo Maseko with the goal. And in fact, their own clash is the one that's already sorted. They are facing one of the hosts, Canada, in round of 32 in Los Angeles. So we'll see if they have enough quality to get to the round of 16. But good job on them. Tapelo Maseko's brilliant goal was all that was needed to edge South Korea. In my opinion, South Korea are by far the favorites, and they screwed that up. But South Africa deserves credit. Hugo Bruce deserves credit. He's come under a lot of criticism. He's had to defend himself a lot, and even said recently that the criticism is coming from people that have had their chance to coach Bafana and either could not get the job or failed at the job. So I understand his sentiment. I really do. So rooting for, not necessarily rooting for South Africa, to be honest. I can't even lie about that. I'm not, but I'll be watching them against Canada. And if they deserve to win, they win. If they don't, they don't. It just goes how it goes. Let's switch gears real quick. African teams should get more slots and Europe should get fewer. I wholeheartedly stand behind this statement. You see, it's all too often whenever an African team plays badly, it's a reflection on the entire African continent. I've seen, just based on Tunisia's first two performances being bad, I've seen a lot of people say this is a reflection on African football. CAF should not be getting 10 slots at the FIFA World Cup. Granted, CAF got 9 slots to come to the World Cup, increasing from 5 to 9. The 10th one was through a playoff. That's DR Congo. That was on merit. That was, you have to go against teams from other continents and to get that 10th slot. So DR Congo being there already proves that the African continent is better than a lot of the other continents, the Oceania continent, the North American team, Jamaica, who Congo beat to actually clinch their spot in the World Cup. The point is, African countries are frequently having to fight for their right to be at the World Cup. Historically, people bring up the fact that African countries don't do too well at the World Cup. And it's truly, in my opinion, because they've never had the same opportunities. They've never had as many slots. 5 slots was extremely limited, and that was the best Africa has had for years. Was limited. A lot of Africa's best teams missed the tournament. Egypt were 3-peat African champions. 2006, 2008, 2010. Did not make a single World Cup in that stretch. Missed the 2006 World Cup, missed the 2010 World Cup. Did not make a single World Cup in that stretch. Africa's strongest teams, considered the Drogba only played in one World Cup. Missed all the World Cups in his prime by 2006. African countries continue to miss out because they gave us so few slots. The opportunities were so few. While historically, European teams continue to get the chance to stink up the place. So do South American teams. How many South American teams are there in total? Maybe 12. How many South American teams are actually great? 2, Argentina and Brazil. They've done so well that they've improved the relevance and the reputation of their entire continent. Good for them. But when you say great, then how many teams are actually good? Maybe 2, 3 more. Uruguay, Chile, Colombia. Actually good. That leaves 7, because I've counted 5, 2 great, 3 good. That leaves 7 teams who genuinely are not that good at football. What have Ecuador done football-wise? They've always, sort of had talent, but they've always underperformed. Paraguay, Bolivia, all of these teams have had their moments in the sun in the World Cup. But for some reason, we insist on disenfranchising the African teams who already have so few slots. When Spain, the reigning European champions, failed to score a single goal against Cape Verde, African World Cup debutants. Nobody said it was an indictment on the entire European football. Everybody gave their credit for defending very well. When England failed to break down Ghana, nobody said, oh, European football is trash. But for whatever reason, it goes the other way around. It's immediately an indictment on African football, which is why I'm doing the Lord's work now to say, defund UEFA. Not really defund UEFA. That's just as a figure of speech, really. UEFA should not have these many slots. Bosnia and Herzegovina, not a World Cup level team. Bosnia and Herzegovina, not better than 8 out of 10 African teams that came to this World Cup. And by that 8 out of 10, I'm only willing to concede Tunisia that are fully better than Tunisia. I don't think Bosnia and Herzegovina can even beat South Africa in a football game. Doesn't mean that South Africa is better than them, but I don't think they can beat South Africa in a football game. Czech Republic, hot trash. Why is Czech Republic at this tournament? At some point, we have to start asking these questions. Why do we overlook these people and let them get away with having so many slots? Scotland. Look at how bad Scotland were against Brazil yesterday. Basically gave Brazil 2 goals because they don't have quality. Scotland, and so for some reason, European teams feel like they have the divine right to the World Cup. Italy missed the World Cup for the 3rd year in a row, and they're complaining about Africa having too many slots. How about Italy qualify for the World Cup if they merit it? Turkey, don't even get me started on freaking Turkey. Turkey played in a group with Australia, Paraguay, and the United States. They've not even played the United States yet. They play the United States tonight. And Turkey failed to win against Australia and Paraguay, failed to even score a goal. Europe have too many slots. That's what this World Cup is proving. That, in my opinion, is what this World Cup is proving. Sweden beat Tunisia 5-1 because Tunisia are a bad team. Sweden lost 5-1 to the Netherlands. That is, what are we doing here? And this is supposed to be a team with quality strikers. Isak Gyökeres. Belgium have failed to beat both Egypt and Iran. What are they doing here? At some point, we have to start holding these European teams to the lofty standard that they want to hold African teams to. How about you? Every World Cup, there are at least 3 to 4 European teams that are exclusively there just to make up the numbers. Historically, have never been an important part of the World Cup. Don't have the current quality to be an important part of the World Cup. They are just there. The Denmarks of the world, they didn't qualify for this edition, thank God. Denmark, Austria, Switzerland, always qualifying because Europe has too many slots for too many filler teams. Always qualifying. Czech Republic, never ever have they done anything at the World Cup, but they will be there. Why? Because Europe have too many slots. Look at Bosnia and Herzegovina. I really think that this World Cup has shown us that Europe should not be as revered as they are. European teams are historically more successful at World Cups because they've historically had more chances. They've historically had more opportunities to play at World Cups. That is all it boils down to. What gives Europe the moral superiority over Africa? Yes, your elite teams, France, Spain, blah, 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 they're the best in the world. They're better than Africa's elite teams. But on average, Africa has better teams than Europe. That's just, the World Cup has, I've always believed it, but this World Cup proves it and makes me stop looking like a crazy person when I say things like this. And the same goes for the Asian continent as well. Like, a lot of Asian teams can rival a lot of non-elite European teams, but for some reason they don't get enough chances. I think at some point something has to change. Something has to change as I go into preview of FIFA World Cup Day 15. Curacao and Cape Verde take on each other by 9 p.m. tonight. Curacao absolutely need a win if they want to advance to the World Cup round of 32. Cote d'Ivoire just need a draw and they'll be through, but a win is always better. Ecuador need to win. Absolutely need to win. They've played their 2 easiest games on paper. Cote d'Ivoire and Curacao and picked up only 1 point out of potential 6. Now they play against the Germany team that have already qualified, but it's still Germany. They absolutely need a result against Germany. Is that one? Also by 9 p.m., that's when Group E plays. Then Group F plays by 12 a.m. Tunisia against the Netherlands and Japan versus Sweden. Not a lot of stakes in that one. I think that group is pretty much secure in the sense that Japan and Sweden essentially need to draw and they both advance, whether as second and third. I don't know which order they would like to finish, but a draw takes both teams through. A win guarantees one team finishing second. The team that loses, depending on how many goals they lose by, most likely still have a chance to qualify as the third place team because they have 3 points, but goal difference will come into play. Tunisia are already out. Netherlands are already top of the group, so that game is essentially ceremonial. Netherlands will still win. Netherlands should still win that one in the Group F. Group F decider later tonight by 12 a.m., 12 midnight. And then by 3 o'clock, we see Group D in action. Turkey versus USA, another dead rubber game. Turkey already has USA already through, but USA would like to, just win for the vibes, I guess, as host nation. And then Paraguay v Australia, a game that nobody will be watching, a game that both teams also require a draw. The draw guarantees both of them through. A win for either side takes the winner through, and depending on the goal difference, the loser can still qualify or get knocked out as a third place team. So that's what we look forward to in game day 15. The last talking point that I potentially have right now is about Canada. Lots of Canadians are complaining, and rightly so, about the fact that because they finished second in their group, they would have to play their round of 32 game on Sunday against Canada in the United States. And as a host nation, that makes no sense, even if you are just co-hosting. I mean, we knew USA were the real hosts of this tournament. They just gave Canada and Mexico 15 games respectively to host, while the United States are hosting 74 games. We know that is supposed to be like a ceremonial thing, but this is something that could easily have been planned for. And people are starting to gaslight the Canadians and say, if you wanted to play your games at home, just win. If they had won against Switzerland, if they had topped their group, they would have played the round of 32 game at home. That is true. But it's also true that FIFA could have planned this better. FIFA could have planned in a way where first or second place, as soon as Canada advance, they still have a path to play most of, if not all of their games at home, at least up until deeper into the tournament where nobody can really plan for. You can plan for the round of 32. It's just one round after the group stage. I think the Canadians are right on this one. FIFA continue to screw things up, in my opinion. But Canada will play against South Africa in Los Angeles, Inglewood, on Sunday night. So that's one of the 32 fixtures that is confirmed. By tomorrow, we'll have a clearer picture of who faces who for the rest of the knockout round games. But thank you very much. It's a review of match day 14 and preview of match day 15. I'll see you for tomorrow's edition. My name is Tunde Young. Peace, love, prosperity. Like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Bye.